Occurred the 1st of October 1998, 2200 location, Franklin, in shape, triangle duration, 10 minutes characteristics. There were lights on the object. I have seen posts with stories similar to mine. Giant triangular aircraft emitting no noise. It's strange because if an aircraft so large and peculiar hovered over a crowded area, you would hear about it from everyone. Right? Then why do I vividly remember this happening when I was 6 years old 20 years ago? Vividly. A dream? Sometimes you remember your dreams in vivid detail and sometimes you can't remember what it was even about. I would wager that whoever is reading this right now can't remember one dream from 10 years old or younger. What makes us remember our dreams? Is it possible that some people are not remembering what happened just like a forgotten dream? One of two things happened to me. I dreamt of the giant triangular aircraft hovering over hundreds of cars, or it happened and no one said a word. This being 20 years ago, I tend to convince myself that it was a dream. But I find it hard to believe that after all those years I can recall every detail of that dream, and yet I can't remember where my brain wandered last night while sleeping. If you want to have a serious debate on UFOs or explore evidence, you have to take this into consideration. Why haven't any of these giant UFOs made the 5 o'clock news? Are some of us forgetting our dreams? NUFORC note. Semi-anonymous source. We are uncertain as to whether this is a serious report, although we agree that it is odd that the mainstream press does not cover the UFO phenomenon. NUFORC note. Source of report indicates that the date is approximate.
Occurred the 10th of October 2005 location, Franklin, in shape, disk characteristics. There were lights on the object, 2 yellow objects sitting over the cornfield in Franklin, Indiana. We was on my way back from picking up my dad, and all of a sudden, these weird lights was sitting over the cornfield about a mile away. I asked my mom what it was and she said she wasn't sure what it was. We got closer and as soon as we got closer to it, it disappeared. NUFORC note. Witness indicates that the date of the sighting is approximate.
Occurred the 3rd of May 2006, 22:35 location, Franklin, in shape, triangle duration, 5 minutes characteristics. There were lights on the object triangle craft hovering 5 minutes, no sound, lights, very dark black coming home from work on rural roads. Saw triangle shape with 3 lights, 1 on each point, and 1 in middle, hovering over Union Elementary School location in Union Township. Stopped car and got out to observe. Was approximately 1,500 feet in air, very clearly triangle shaped and absolutely no sound noted. The shape itself appeared to be deep black, darker than the night sky, almost seemed to absorb any light, and the lights did not appear to illuminate anything under it. This is in restricted military airspace for Camp Atterbury, which is located approximately 20 miles south. I observed carefully until the craft slowly moved off to the northwest. My mother had also had a sighting over our house approximately 3 miles southeast of this location on the 8th of November 2004 of the same type of object. She notes that during her observation, the craft also had no sound and was very low to the ground. She had reported her observation to Art Bell by email and still retains a copy of that email.
Occurred the 4th of October 2010, 2030 location, Franklin, in shape, triangle duration, 5 minutes or longer characteristics. There were lights on the object emitted beams, the object changed color. I was driving south on I-65 between Franklin, in and Edinburgh, in. I saw along both sides of the Interstate 3 triangle-shaped objects with 2 bright lights in the middle on the bottom of them. I opened the windows and the sunroof and could hear no engines or other sound. I drove directly beneath one of the objects and could see the outline of the triangle against the sky. In the rear view mirror, I could see that one of the objects changed to red and started sending out red lights. I was scared and didn't stay to watch. I headed home and ran in the house.
Occurred August 30th, 2011, 5:30. Location: Franklin. In shape: unknown. Duration: 20 minutes. Characteristics: there was an aura or haze around the object. The object emitted other objects. The object changed color. Strange light pattern. August 30th, 2011, 5:30 a.m. I stepped outside on my back deck before getting ready for work to get a breath of fresh air. The sky was still dark. Dawn has not yet begun. In the southeast sky, I noticed a bright peculiar light I have never seen before in this region of the sky at this time of night per day. I have observed nighttime skies since I was a child, as I have always been fascinated with astronomy. I am familiar with the difference in characteristics between observing a planet, stars, satellites and other celestial objects. The object I observed consisted of a bright, solid, white light with less intense, flickering red and blue lights. At first I thought it was just an airliner, but it was not moving in any direction. I thought maybe it was flying towards my direction, but after 5 minutes, the lights showed no changes in intensity, height or direction. I do not believe it was a star, as it did not have characteristics as such. I know for a fact it was not a planet, as Venus was high in the southern sky and very bright. I continued to observe the object and it appeared to make subtle motion in a back and forth looping pattern, but maintained its general position. I got my binoculars to see if I could get a better view. The object had no direction, but I could see red and blue lights flickering amongst a solid white light. With the binoculars, I had the depth perception and believed this object was not within our atmosphere, but within the near distance of our solar system. I called my wife outside and she observed the object as well and watched through the binoculars. She said she witnessed a single white light with flickering red and blue lights as I described. As I continued to watch through my binoculars, the object separated and became two lights moving in a horizontal direction from each other. A few minutes later, the two lights moved back together to become one light again, with the red and blue flickering resuming. Moments later, the lights separated into two lights again, and this time they moved vertically from each other. Then they slowly moved about each other and eventually came together to become just a single light again and resumed the red and blue flickering once more. Slowly, the light began to become dimmer and appeared to get smaller as if it was moving away from the Earth. I had to go get ready for work, so could not observe any longer. I will go outside again tomorrow morning and see if the light returns. I am not sure what it was, but it was not an object commonly seen in the night sky.
Occurred the 6th of January 2013, 2200. Location: Franklin. In shape: oval. Duration: approximately 30 minutes. Amber lights appearing from the south and moving north. Saw 3 amber-colored lights that appeared to be oval in shape. There were 2 initially seen, and then shortly behind those a third one appeared and came from the south and were going north. They were silent and made sharp direction changes. We were unsure though if we more than 3 or if the 3 we first saw were going in a circle, as there were trees in our line of sight.
Occurred the 8th of December 2013, 2200. Location: Franklin. In shape: fireball. Duration: 15 minutes. Characteristics: there was an aura or haze around the object. The object emitted other objects, fiery orbs moving into formations while dropping smaller orbs. Sitting outside with a neighbor, I noticed large bright orange, yellow lights in the sky off in the horizon. We watched as the two objects seemed to come together into one, as yet more objects began to appear, starting as a small orange light and growing to the size of the others, none of which were larger than the others. They made formations. When there were 3, they briefly made a triangle formation before some of the objects would either join together or slowly vanish over about a 5-second time span. When there were 4, they briefly made a square, and when there were 5, they seemed to form a straight line. During our sighting, these objects randomly dropped smaller objects of the same shape and color. These slowly dropped below the tree line towards the ground. After watching for a few minutes, I realized I could take video pictures. By this time the objects had come together, almost looking like a single object, and dropped a final smaller light. I was able to get video of this, and a dozen pictures or so, before the lights faded and were gone.
Occurred August 14, 2013, 0:25. Location: Franklin. In shape: fireball. Duration: approximately 10 seconds. Characteristics: the object left a trail. There was an aura or haze around the object fireball traversing laterally across the sky between Franklin and Bargersville. I was outside smoking a cigarette, looked up, and happened to notice what at first glance appeared to be a meteor, but after a few seconds I realized that it was moving laterally across the sky and not falling, in the way that normal meteors do. By this time I also noticed that it was leaving a trail of light with a corona just behind the object, and it disappeared from my sight after a few more seconds as it traveled north by northeast.